How's it going, guys? I'm here with another poorly made video, this time in regards to the new Arctic Monkeys album, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. Now, the Arctic Monkeys have been around for a hot minute. They've created quite the following. And, this album was destined to be divisive because, if you really think about it, you have those people that like the first two albums and they think that's the true Arctic Monkeys sound. And then you have the sort of AM bandwagons that were expecting an AM part 2. And then you had people like me with a very high IQ that thought Humbug was their best album and that really liked Suck It and See and also enjoyed Alex Turner's solo project. Well, not solo project, but his little side project, The Last Shadow Puppets. And with all that being said, I thought I would like this album because I was one of those more open-minded people that liked when the Arctic Monkeys experimented and took a softer route. But not even I was ready for this. This was really something. This was something else, let me tell you. And I mean that in a good way because the Arctic Monkeys are in the 30s now, so you have to expect them to grow and mature, and you have to expect their music to do the same, and it certainly has. So to dismiss this album for just not sounding like the old Arctic Monkeys, I think is silly. You don't have to like it, but I think that's sort of a not the best reason. Luckily I went into this with an open mind, and I went out having heard something that I didn't know I needed to hear, but enjoyed overall. So this album still has all four band members tied to it, so it's still very much an Arctic Monkeys album, but I'm not gonna compare it to their past works because it's very much apples and oranges. So I'm not going to be picking on a song for not having enough guitar or not having enough energy because this is truly its own entity. Therefore, I'm going to review it as such. So, with my spiel out of the way, I'm now going to go track by track with this album. I'm going to rate every song, then I'll average them up for a final score. If I like that score, we'll keep it. If not, I'll change it. And if I do, I'll explain why. Alright, so we'll start things off with Star Treatment, obviously, and I'm not going to be able to do this song justice with words, but I'm going to try. This song is an excellent album opener, and it kind of just takes you into the world that the rest of the album, walks you through, but this is where it starts. This is what pulls you in, and it certainly does. It's like lounge music for a hotel, and that's... Well, that's the vibe you should be getting. This is a concept album about a hotel on the moon. So to start off with a song that sounds like lounge music from a hotel on the moon, that makes kind of sense. And to take the concept even further, this is not Alex Turner singing, but the lead singer of the Martini Police, which is the fictional lounge band of this hotel. And just to hear that concept play out in lyrics is really interesting. Turner's lyricism on this song is, out of this world. I could just listen to it and pick it apart all day. And the instrumentation on this one, too, is, at first glance, it seems simplistic with just some light percussion, a really groovy bass and, some light keyboard. But it's not boring. It's atmospheric. That's the right word for it. And then you get these really nice vocal fillers from... I'm just going to guess Jamie Cook, but I don't know. But it all just sounds gorgeous, the whole song. For me, this is a must-listen, so I'm going to give it the most excellent rating of a 10 out of 10. So, One Point Perspective keeps with the same vibe as it's sort of just another slow melodic song. Maybe even on a more simplistic level, as Alex Turner's lyrics kind of just soar on these nice chimey pianos with a light drum in the background. And then, there's a build-up with the bass in the second verse, which sounds really good. And once again, Alex Turner's lyrics sound great. And all that's great and good and other adjectives. But that's all just me tiptoeing around what is probably the best moment on this song and the best moment on this album, which is the bridge. Oh My Days, the bridge is awesome on this song. It kind of it's the climax of the song, clearly, and it just shows Alex Turner singing on a more emotional level, hitting a nice falsetto, and just, wow, good stuff. And it leads into a guitar solo, which, since there's not as much guitar on this album, it's kind of just a nice surprise to hear it, and it sounds really crisp and smooth. Just a really great moment, and overall good song. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. 1 point perspective then transitions seamlessly into American sports. I really like that transition. And with American sports, I don't really have too much to say. It's really just a lot of the same. Just in my humble opinion, it's the same but done, a little less imaginatively. And just, it's a little more bland. Here I can see some of people's criticisms that the whole album is really kind of just one note. But I don't really agree with the whole album. I just think this one song, and a couple others in particular, kind of just stay on one gear and don't really change. And, that's fine because the lyrics still sound good, but there's nothing that really keeps me hooked here. There's a nice, more piano in the background. You could hear some nice, good bass from Nick O'Malley. He really kills it on this album. So overall, I like the lyrics. Couldn't really tell you what they mean yet, but, they're fun to listen to. And Nick O'Malley's bass are really the two redeeming qualities. But other than that, I don't really feel this song that much. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. So the title track here opens with some of the best bass on the album. Once again, Nick O'Malley just in the background at all times killing it on this album. And so then we have Alex Turner's lyrics come in, and his vocal delivery on this one is interesting. I heard someone say it sounds like Herbert the Pervert from Family Guy, and I kind of can't unhear that now, but I won't let it influence me because before having heard that, I thought it sounded really cool, and still does. And once again, his lyrics, I keep mentioning his lyrics, but with a concept album like this, you're going to get some interesting lyrics, and they just keep popping up. And sometimes his lyrics can be too interesting for his own good, Alex Turner, but we'll let that slide because for the most part, there's just some really interesting stuff to be said here. And, like Jesus in the day spa, filling out his information form. It's just some interesting concepts. And then the chorus, which sounded anticlimactic upon first listen, now just sounds badass. Hearing him drop the title and holding out those notes like that, it just sounds really cool. Overall, a cool song, 8 out of 10 for me. So, Golden Trunks is probably the weakest part of this album for me. And I don't know if that upsets anyone, but let me tell you, I've listened to this album a lot of times because I knew this would be an album that needed a lot of listens. And this is the one song that every time it didn't really grow on me like the others did. And which surprised me because, the guitars are probably most prominent on this song, but they don't really grab me for some reason. Just something about them is just not there. Like, they're just kind of bland. And once again, the lyrics are, rambling all over the place. And once again, they don't really grab me. I have no interest in really decrypting them. And probably the only part that I truly like about this song is, there's like a mini chorus that has a really nice melody on it. And, kind of has like a little heartfelt lyricism in it. And there's some good vocal harmonizations in there. But other than that, not really a big fan of this one. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. So 4 stars out of 5 is the big single off this album, and rightfully so. It's the most Arctic Monkeys sounding song, so it makes sense. And overall, it's a simple song. It's catchier than everything else on here. You can pick it up on first listen and really enjoy it. It has some rambling verses that once again are talking about commercialism mainly, from a futuristic aspect, which makes it more interesting. Alex Turner kind of picks up this more David Bowie-esque vocal delivery on this one, which sounds kind of cool. And then, he kind of channels his inner eagle on this one as the chorus sounds like Hotel California-esque. And, that's the big grand part. But for me, the big game changer on this song is the bridge. And I know I don't shut up about bridges, but I think when done right, it really just brings a song to another level. And this bridge is great, and it literally brings the song up another semitone for the outro, which you think would get boring since it just repeats the chorus over and over. But it really doesn't. It sounds great with all these little intricacies in the background, the nice little piano riff. Overall, it's just a nice crescendo at the end there, and it's a good song. I give it an 8 out of 10. The world's first ever monster truck front flip, which, first off, what a title. Arctic Monkeys always know how to make a good song title. This is just one instance. But, that doesn't get any points. But, For me, this is like a better version of Golden Trunks, and it has the same sort of tempo, the same like vocal harmonizations in the background, but it just feels like a more fully realized song. And some of the verses on this are, maybe a little too slow, like to a point where it's dragging maybe a little bit. But it's for me, it's a worth it because the build up sort of gives way to a couple climaxes on this song where the drums come in and the guitars come in and Alex Turner's vocal melodies are just like flowing really well. And all that needs to be said about the lyrics so that they're still consistent with the rest of the album in terms of their nuance. So overall, I think this deserves a 7 out of 10. So science fiction, I don't really have a lot to say here. This might upset some people because I know this song gets some praise, but my criticisms of Golden Trunks also apply here in that I find this song to be kind of just bland, both instrumentally and lyrically. Like Alex Turner's stream of consciousness here is just so all over the place that I really have nothing to grab onto in terms of lyrics. And maybe I'm just a moron, but that's what I think. And the instrumentation here, the guitars are fairly simple, and they don't really change that much throughout the song. And that wouldn't be a bad thing per se if it was interesting in the first place, but I don't really think it is. And so, really, the song does what the rest of the album does in terms of sound, but the rest of the album just does it better. That's all. So I'm going to give this song a 5 out of 10. So coming into the final stretch here, we have She Looks Like Fun, which I was surprised to hear is a lot of people's least favorite song on this album, which kind of shocks me because I'll agree that's not the best on the album, but still a good song, not bad by any stretch of the term. I think what gets a lot of people is the chorus, where they're kind of just chanting "She looks like fun," and Alex Turner's just yelling random words like cheeseburger and good morning. But I'll be honest, I kind of like it. I think it sounds good, especially when the guitars really kick in and they start stepping down the scale along with whoever's chanting "She looks like fun." And I like the freeform, just like random lyrics on this one. I'm pretty sure it's representative of just scrolling through social media. That seems to be what a lot of the song is about. And once again, I'll just keep repeating it. The lyrics are awesome on this one. And what else is there? I like the vocal delivery on some of the quieter parts of this song where it's kind of just the bass and the drums. It sounds really eerie. And there's another good guitar solo on this one. I will go as far as to say it's not good, it's great, the guitar solo. And overall, it's a solid song. I give it a 7 out of 10. So Batphone is an interesting song because this one took a long time to grow on me. And some people might not agree with what I have to say about the song because I think it's awesome. And a lot of people probably won't agree because I haven't heard the song 100 times. I've listened to the song over and over. And at first, it was just to see if I might like it eventually. And once I did like it eventually, I was just listening to it because I couldn't help myself. At first, it seems really minimalistic with what's going on in the background. But as you listen, there's a lot going on back there. You got these organs, you got some light, like blues-like guitar, and some like nice jazz piano breakdowns in there, and some other weird things I can't really describe, like, some like maybe like synth-esque instrumentation going on in there. I really can't explain it. That's in the background. Let's talk about what's in the foreground here, which is Alex Turner's vocals. And this is definitely, at least for me, his best vocal performance on the album. There's a lot of slow build up here, but it's all in a good groove, and it has this eerie presence to it that I really enjoy. But there's this one point, and you'll know what point I'm talking about. There's this part where he hits this nice falsetto when he says numerous times. And after that, the song just takes off. And it just gets into this really nice flow. I really can't do the song justice here. All I can say is that when this song finally clicks, it's one of the best things that this album has to offer. I give it a 9 out of 10. So this album finishes up with a nice piano ballad in the form of the Ultracheese. Very lovely title. And so I think it makes sense for there to be a piano ballad on an album that's been dabbling in piano this entire time. And Alex's like crooning vocals really fit well here. And I don't know, I really don't have that much to say about this one either. It's just really melodic and lovely to hear. And once this song hits its climax, it's one of the best parts of this album as well. And then you get this really nice baritone guitar solo, which is another nice addition to this song and the album overall. And it's just a good closer. I give it an 8 out of 10. So, when you add up all these track ratings and divide by 11, you get an average score of a 7.5 out of 10. Now, I'm going to up that up to an 8 out of 10 because sometimes, and I've said this before, rating individual tracks does not account for the fact that sometimes the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And that is truly relevant here. This is an album that, when I put on Star Treatment, I can't help but listen to the entire album because it just sucks you into the world that it's set in. And that's what a concept album should do, and that's what this does successfully. And although some of the songs are kind of drag a bit, only a couple, it all still just fits well into the mood and the entire vibe of the album. And for that, I give it an 8 out of 10. And that concludes another album review from the Worst Review channel on the internet. Thank you guys. If you have any other albums you want me to review, Arctic Monkeys albums, really anything, just leave it in the comments and I will listen to it. And if I have strong enough opinions, I'll review it. But that's only if you put it in the comments. Otherwise, I'm just going to put out what I want to listen to. And I'm going to try to put these out weekly, so stay tuned. And yeah, that's that.